because I know you travel a lot, or you were traveling a lot, and I wanted to ask how much of that changed what you were making, and was it changes because you saw what was out there, or you saw what you could make that people were interested in?
I guess my only experience of this would be like looking at the Japanese market. So if I go back 15 years, pre-internet, pre-everything, free and easy days, all this kind of stuff. And, Whites, Wesco, Red Wing, all these guys were doing good. And they all seemed to have like a iconic product. And at this time, I hadn't sort of discovered our old service boot somewhere in the office, fucking tucked in the back. So I was constantly just trying to adapt and try new things that, that would sort of allow us to have this sort of, entryway into the market that sort of, gave us a unique perspective in the market as this is our product, this is our thing. And so it wasn't really until the service boot that sort of happened. And the service boot really originally was a nailed down product where it's just totally different construction. It doesn't look the same. I mean, the pattern looks the same, but the construction's different. So, but ultimately what it comes down to is, I took a last that was a Canadian uniform last for like parade boots and stuff. So it was a bit more sleek, and I combined it with Pacific Northwest manufacturing technique and with a lower heel and all this kind of stuff. And it really hadn't been done before in the market. It's hard to say that now when it's so saturated, but when you go back originally, there was nothing there. Whites had the semi-dress, Wesco didn't have anything. They were just basically doing engineers. Nix was almost non-existent in this realm. There's nobody really in Europe doing this type of rugged products, so that was basically it. So it really took off quite easily. And that sort of, once the compass sort of went that way, we just sort of shifted with it.
When you talk about the difference between the service boot, how that had changed the way that you saw things, what is that aesthetic difference?
Yeah, so it's basically just a uniform, something that you wear with a uniform rather than military uniform, actually like in the field. So it's more just like during a parade or with a suit with a more formal attire, so that the last itself is more sleek. It's essentially the same service boot pattern. Like that pattern is just a generic pattern that they've been producing for like 100 years, right? There's nothing special about it. But the last of most of those old vintage ones are like a Munson last with a bulbous toe. And for the sole purpose of that is to walk, with a backpack and a gun. That's the whole point. And then as they sort of got into into the uniform attire, and it's like they're using more patent leathers and more dressier stuff. They want the same pattern. Obviously, maybe it's to save money or whatever the case may be, but the last is a bit more sleek so that it goes with a trouser rather than a big baggy, cargo pant or something like this. So it's essentially the combination of a stitched down product, which is very, very specific to our region of North America. I mean, in the world, right? That's just how it is. Stitched down, 360 stitched down, Danner, Clark's, a lot of the mountaineering boots in Europe and Italy, they'll do a Norwegian welt stitched down 360. Like, so there's ideas of it, but nothing that sort of put all of those things into like one melting pot and sort of presented this idea, especially with like, what I'm talking about is the 2030 last, and the toe box height at that time was like super sleek compared to everything else that was out there. And I think that's what was sort of attractive at that time, and still is that at that time it was very skinny pants, skinny jeans, and it sort of allowed you to have a rugged boot that was still sort of slim to the foot without having a big chunky thing on your foot. And now, it just becomes sort of, it just is what it is right now. It's just, we're too far sort of gone in the other direction to sort of evaluate the style of it. It's just a very commercial almond toe shaped last,
Brett, you and your dad had come in, and I had missed you on a tour.
Oh yeah.
And then we started talking, and that was 2011. So that was a while ago.
Yeah. I mean, up until that time, it was really just trying to find this signature product that we had. And then, once I sort of figured out what that was, and honestly, at that time, it was just applying it to very corrected grain, oil tan leathers. And that's what the original Service Boot products were. And so, as I sort of wanted to introduce new ideas or new leathers or anything, I mean, Horween is really the catalog and selection and quality is unlike anyone else in the world. So, I mean, it's just,
Hey, thanks.
It's one of the things that's very similar to like, how I view my company. I have all these different product lines that, we produce a lot of stuff under one roof, and Horween does the exact same thing. I mean, it's very unique. It's like they go from shell to football leather to, full veg, side leather. I mean, and then you've got all the stuff in between that's very, purpose-built leather for industry. And when you have all those formulas, you have the ability to make amazing stuff. And literally, there's not one other tannery in existence that is comparable, because the advantage of being a Horween tannery at the time when it started during this industrial revolution and having the opportunity to develop leathers for different industries that maybe they never even thought would work out, gave them all these formulas that now is like this invaluable Rolodex that literally nobody else has. They can copy it, but not the innovator of it, and that's sort of how I see it right now. It's and the stuff that we use is quite a big variety of leather, but I mean, man, I doubt we're just scratching the surface at what is available.
Well, it's very kind of you to.
You're a little flattering.
It's very flattering. Yeah, I think that there are a lot of days where it doesn't feel like a very smart choice to make so many different things, because it's the complexity is prohibitive at times, but the experience is invaluable. I mean, I think that if you have an issue or something comes up or someone asks for something and it's something that you've actually done before, or you've done something like it, then your chances at success are much higher.